What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, we are officially kicking off fantasy mock draft season here on the channel. And as you can see, we have got the setup all ready to go. This will be a 10-team full-point PPR mock via FantasyPros, where we will be selecting first overall. Roster-wise, nothing too crazy. One quarterback, two RBs, two wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, and then 5 bench spots. That's pretty much all you need to know. So let's get right into it. And a quick reminder, if you guys enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at alldaypigskin. Check us out online at alldaypigskin.com. All those details in the description. But this thing is underway, and we've got that first pick overall. And this is one thing I'll say. Yes, right now it is extremely early. In fact, this is a way too early fantasy mock draft, but there is one player, like there was last year, that no matter how late or how early you're drafting, you should be picking first overall. And it's Christian McCaffrey yet again. Because the fact of the matter is, when he was healthy last season, even if it was only for a few games, he was an absolute cheat code in PPR. And he kind of showed that it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. So worst case scenario, if it's Teddy Bridgewater again, well, McCaffrey's still going to get a similar type of workload. If it's a rookie quarterback, I anticipate the same type of situation. And I wouldn't be scared off by, injury concerns. This is kind of really the first time McCaffrey has been banged up. And it was kind of by different things each time. Panthers weren't really competitive, so they weren't in a rush to play him. So basically what I'm trying to say is McCaffrey 101, in my eyes, is a slam dunk. So for us, the draft really starts with that second pick in the second round, obviously. And it's still really early on, like I said. So this is actually one of our first mock drafts that we've done as well. Maybe it's one of the first ones you guys are checking out. So it's going to be a process where I'm really intrigued to see where some of these players are just going at this point in time, and then just kind of compare and contrast, a month from now, 2 months from now, etc. But right now, let's go to our cheat sheet here and see kind of who's been drafted, who's still available. And as far as running backs, there's, DeAndre Swift, Joe Mixon, Gibson, Cam Akers. So a bunch of sophomore running backs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire as well. I'm really tempted right now, to just go the next two best available players. I usually don't go tight end very early on, but Travis Kelce is an absolute stud. You're going to see some drafts where he's being selected in the first round, or just early in the second round. So this is actually pretty good value for Travis Kelce. Running back wise, we might get ourselves in a little bit of trouble if we wait until the fourth round to take another running back, but I'm going to take a gamble. I love Calvin Ridley. He's a guy that I was all on board for last season. I think he's going to continue to be outstanding this season, even though Julio Jones could potentially be a great value pick if he's there in the fourth round. I guess, again, it's kind of a situation where we'll see what happens, but 20 picks from now, I doubt that will be the case. So let's just go to our guys. Let's go with Calvin Ridley with our first selection, since we're here on the turn, and then it'll be Travis Kelce. So nothing too crazy. Right now, this is, pretty standard, I would say. I kind of want to look at the big draft board and how things have played out so far, some of these picks, to get an idea of what other teams have done. So look, Christian McCaffrey went first, then Saquon Barkley, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor. So running back heavy. And something I will say, I probably have Dalvin Cook as my second overall running back, but I understand why people have Barkley. However, I'm a little bit scared, since he is actually coming off a major injury, how that will play out. Then you've got Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor. That makes sense. Devontae Adams, the first wide receiver off the board. Again, that makes sense. Right around that 106 range, which is usually the case. Aaron Jones, Derrick Henry, Ezekiel Elliott, Tyreek Hill. So, again, that's, for the most part, makes sense. Ezekiel Elliott kind of gone down draft boards. A guy that I think should be much higher is Austin Eckler. The fact that Austin Eckler went in the middle of the second round, I think is probably the biggest steal in this entire draft. And I don't think that'll be the case, a couple of months from now, especially in full point PPR. So keep that in mind. The guy was, I think probably him and Alvin Kamara are the closest thing to a Christian McCaffrey that we have. But here in the second round, we saw a big time run on wide receivers. Stephon Diggs, Hopkins, DK Metcalf, Allen Robinson, as well, with the new quarterback in Chicago, Andy Dalton, Michael Thomas, A.J. Brown, then Calvin Ridley. We went Travis Kelce. Then you see Justin Jefferson, Patrick Mahomes, the first quarterback off the list, Kittle, then Mixon, Darren Waller. Obviously he had a huge breakout season last year, but interesting to see all the three top tight ends go in the third round. Again, still very early on here, and this is all viable to change big time in a couple months from now. But again, this is pretty entertaining and intriguing for the exercise in it of itself. Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin afterwards, good value picks. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think, is a very good value pick here at the end of the third round. Then Akers, Antonio Gibson, both, again, good value picks. But in the third and fourth round, you see a run on wide receivers. So let's get back to kind of our pick here and see what we can do. I want to go back to our cheat sheet and see who is still left available as far as wide receivers and as far as running backs, because we obviously have the tight end position taken care of. And right now, a guy that I'm looking at, if we went running back, would be Melvin Gordon, because with no more Philip Lindsay in Denver, I think he could potentially have a huge type of season. Chris Carson is also tempting, but, I'm kind of nervous to see what happens when Rashad Penny is fully healthy in Seattle. So I think Melvin Gordon is actually a better pick. I would have him ranked higher than Chris Carson. Dobbins, I'm a little bit afraid of with Lamar Jackson and Baltimore refusing to commit to one running back 100%. Jacobs with Drake there, no thank you. Montgomery, I think the offensive line is a big issue for Chicago. And, when the Bears aren't playing the worst rush defenses in the NFL, Montgomery isn't all that great. So right now, Melvin Gordon will be one of these picks is what I am getting at. Then afterwards, we're going to go wide receiver. And the wide receivers that I'm considering, Kenny Golladay, Deontay Johnson, Cooper Kupp, Adam Thielen, pretty much kind of in that order, the way they're listed here. But breaking it down a little bit further, Golladay, I do think he's going to have a lot of other players to contend with, and Saquon Barkley. So I'm kind of going to pass on him. Deontay Johnson is high up on that list, kind of had a breakout last season. I do think it can continue. Cooper Kupp with Matthew Stafford, very intriguing, especially in full point PPR. But I look at Adam Thielen, and I also really like him. Justin Jefferson obviously broke out last season, but I don't think Adam Thielen is just going to disappear. And I'm going to go with Thielen here, actually, just because I think there's, a little bit more stability with him versus let's say, Cooper Kupp, who, even though he does have some huge weeks, he also does have some bust weeks as well. So I'm going to go with Adam Thielen here. And then next, I'm going to go with our running back that I previously mentioned in Melvin Gordon, who we're going to have to actually physically go to our cheat sheet and select because he was just not available on that list. But here we go. We're drafting him. And right now, I like the way that this is playing out. You get a reach alert here. There's a 77% chance that he could have been available afterwards. Again, that's not a risk that I wanted to take. So go and get your guy. I think Melvin Gordon is going to be someone that's shooting up draft boards when people kind of realize that it's just him and get over the fact that he didn't, do all that much last season. But let's go back to our draft board, and we can kind of start to speed things up at this point in time. It would have been nice to see Chase Edmonds fall to us because as things stand right now, he is the only really main running back for the Cardinals, but I don't anticipate that will be the case. especially after the NFL draft. But at this point in time, I'm just looking for, you know, players that are really good flex plays or players that provide some nice depth, don't necessarily have to be starters. I'm looking at the wide receivers that are available. Tyler Lockett is tempting. Odell, we'll see what happens there. He's someone potentially, but I already have 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs as well. So I'm kind of probably just split this. Go Chris Carson, someone that I mentioned previously, and then maybe Tyler Lockett, even though I don't really want to stack the Seattle offense too much. So maybe I'll actually avoid doing that now that I think about it. So let's start with Chris Carson. He will be our first selection. I could go quarterback here. I'm looking at Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers. Justin Herbert, though, is someone that I think will have huge value later on. And I think I can get him, in a couple picks from now. So we'll see if that pans out or not. But let's go get a running back here in Chris Carson. And then we will look at the wide receiver position as well. So looking at wide receiver, let me quickly look at tight end, though, to see if there's anybody I'm missing that's a great value. Not really, considering I've got Kelsey. So looking at wide receiver here, I'm mainly between Lockett, Odell, and then Tyler Boyd. Lockett is a little bit too boomer bust for me. I'm already got Chris Carson, Odell Beckham. We'll see what happens in Cleveland. So I'm just going to keep this simple. I'm going to go with Tyler Boyd, even though, the Bengals are probably going to add a wide receiver in the draft. But as things stand right now, Boyd is the #1 wide receiver on that offense. So I'm just going to go and pick him right now and then see what happens afterwards to see if one of those quarterbacks drops to us. If they don't, then maybe we know for next time at what point in time to start picking a quarterback. And unfortunately, there was actually kind of a run on quarterbacks. 4 quarterbacks in the 7th round: Lamar, Rodgers, Wilson, and Herbert. All guys that I highlighted, and honestly, all extremely good value picks. So the quarterback position right now might take a hit for us. Let's see what's kind of left available. And I'm looking at it, someone that I would consider is probably high upside right now, Jalen Hurts, just because of his pure rushing ability. I'm trying to see where he stacks up in terms of overall players to see if I can, wait on selecting him, but probably not. So I'm just going to take Jalen Hurts with one of my picks right now. I'm probably going to get a backup quarterback as well afterwards, just because I'm not 100% sold on Hurts. Matthew Stafford is someone that's really tempting later on a potentially pass-heavy offense with Woods and with Kupp. I'm looking at wide receivers, running backs right now. Myles Gaskin is someone that's very intriguing. Yes, a lot of people are saying that, the Dolphins are going to take a running back early on in the draft, but we'll see right now. Again, that's not the case. So a lot of these things will change. So at this point in time, Myles Gaskin is a good value pick. That's what I'll do. And I, here kind of just switching to this view so you can see what our roster looks like. And I will go over it here shortly. At quarterback, we have got Jalen Hurts, like I mentioned, Christian McCaffrey, Melvin Gordon, Calvin Ridley, Adam Thielen, Kelsey, Chris Carson. So I actually really like our starting roster. Got some good depth here on the bench as well. That's viable to change depending on what Miami does in the draft at the running back position. But I alluded to it before. I don't 100% like to just commit to Jalen Hurts. I'm going to take Matthew Stafford here. I think he can have some success. I like the pick in terms of a backup. And now I'm just going to go for value. I think Jarvis Landry, the fact that he's still available in full point PPR scoring is extremely valuable. Add some more depth to the wide receiver position, in case there's injuries, in case there's a drop off at that position with maybe Adam Thielen. So let's go with Jarvis Landry here, and then we will have one final pick to make afterwards. And maybe it can be a backup tight end or a handcuff running back, something like that. I'm looking at this and kind of just wondering, Marquise Brown, as far as wide receivers, LaVisca, Jamison Crowder, Michael Pittman Jr. actually, I think right now is a really good value as a sneaky breakout candidate. Tight end wise, we can scroll down here and see the situation. Jonnu, Irv Smith, Hayden Hurst, Coke Met, nothing too crazy. Look, I've got Travis Kelce. Let's not get cute here. Let's just go best player available and high upside plays. That's what you have to do at this point in time. And for me, that is Michael Pittman Jr. I'm going to go ahead and draft him here at this point in time. I like the upside with Carson Wentz in town. So let's add him to the squad, and then we will, get our draft grade. And that is a grade of an A-, so I'm pretty happy with that. Obviously, again, this is so early on in the year that this grade and these selections, to some extent, don't mean anything, but it's a fun exercise. And I'm hoping you guys got something out of it, some of these selections from some of the commentary and breakdown. And I'll do one final breakdown here. Again, quarterback-wise, we went high upside with Jalen Hurts, but since he obviously does have a low floor, that's why I really like getting Matthew Stafford. Christian McCaffrey, we waited on running back afterwards. Having McCaffrey allows you to do that. And I think we got good value getting Ridley and Kelce. Good value on Kelce, I will say. Melvin Gordon with no Phillip Lindsay. I like that pick. I think he will trend up. Adam Thielen is someone that, I'm still feeling out. It could potentially be a situation where he drops down my rankings, but he's got the potential, especially again in PPR. Chris Carson, I think we got him at a good value at the end of the 6th round, even with Rashad Penny, and then afterwards just loading up on viable plays, even though they might be bench pieces. Boyd, Gaskin, again, Gaskin could become expendable if the Dolphins get someone in the draft. Matthew Stafford, Landry, and Pittman, both I think great value picks. So that pretty much, wraps this up. Right now, as far as the grade is concerned, A-, I'd probably say B+, A-, but hey, let me hear it in the comment section. Did you agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have? If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, and again, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin. Check us out online at alldaypigskin.com. All those details in the description. But in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.